This LPL Pro presentation is proudly brought to you by Star Insurance.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome. It's the Let's Play Live Star Insurance Project Cars 2 ANZ Championship, Episode 5. We're live out of the beautiful Sky City Sky Tower. My name's Brennan White and I'm joined by some royalty tonight, especially from Matthew's side. He was the brains behind the commentary box the last couple of weeks, so we've asked him back. Matt, well, don't blow that head up. Welcome back, mate. Welcome back.
I forfeited my title, haven't I?
You have, sorry,
Never
mate.
your title, mate.
But it was good. We've had some banter. So Matt is driven.co.nz. Matt, what's been happening in the wonderful world of motorsport and motor racing this week?
Oh, all sorts, mate. I mean, it's been a really busy schedule. The supercars are here in New Zealand. We'll touch more on that later tonight. But yeah, let's get that show on the road.
Let's get the show on the road. Simon, velocitynews.co.nz. We're joined by him as well. It's been a pretty exceptional 5 weeks so far. There's some good racing. Last week we saw a big heavy car. We're going to see a much lighter car this week. But what's your take so far on Eastern Motorsport Racing?
Yeah, well, you know, talking to Matt earlier tonight, I think the biggest thing that we've really enjoyed this season is just the changing of cars, basically every round. You know, we've got a different track, a different layout of some of the same tracks even, and it's just sort of that variety that we were sort of lacking last season when we just had the Ferrari 488, but this year, it's really cool. Like just single-seaters and heavy cars, lightweight cars. It's really fascinating to see how it's played out.
Now, if you're just tuning in, you're probably wondering who we are and where we're about. Well, there's 16 races from Australia and New Zealand competing for $6,000 on the line. That's AUD money as well in motorsport racing, but not in cars around racetracks. It's all here online at LPL Studios. So they're all there. They're all qualifying right now, and we've been to some exceptional locations. But before we do that, let's take a look at our highlights from last week and what went down.
We went to Dubai Autodrome to the Grand Prix circuit, 3 races around that circuit with different variations. The first drama, we saw Prinz and Madzi getting together. These two couldn't stay away from each other and ultimately cost them some really good opportunities for a strong result. Matthew Bull Pluck brought home the race win in the first race of the night. And then rather bizarrely, we got a bit of rain in the desert for race 2. The sun set, and these guys really came alive. We saw some door-to-door racing in the Aston Martin V8 Vantage GT4. Surprisingly, these two, despite going door-to-door all the way around to the corner, managed to come out of it unscathed. Pluck and Northway getting into each other. Northway got the upper hand at that point, but it was in fact Seeker, the Flying Fox, the disguised man from Christchurch, who or woman potentially, if non-binary, who took home the race win. And once again, it was Matthew Bull Pluck and Robert Northway going head-to-head. These boys could not stay away from each other, much like Prinz and Madzi in race 1. There was a bit of a spin at the start of the race there for Robert Northway, but Pluck ultimately came away with the win with this nice pass down the inside at the final corner. And that was all she wrote for Dubai Autodrome GP.
Well, that means the movers and shakers, they've been really getting a lot of screen time as Matthew Bull Pluck and Robert Murphy's Law. So there you go, the tournament leader for Project Cars, the championship, and 1,486 points for Matthew Bull Pluck. There is definitely something in the water in Christchurch because they're leading it. Now, if you're wondering what Murphy's Law means, it's Robert Northway, but their gamer's name's Murphy's Law. He's 100 points behind now. There's 2 races tonight. They are a sprint race, 100 points on offer for each, and then the feature race, which is 200 points. So definitely not out of the game yet. And then that fox that we know nothing about, Seeker. So Token Australian sitting in 4th position.
Yeah, Kyle Madden down there in P4, 346 points in arrears. Prinz rounding out the top 5, just down under 1,000 points for him. He's 532 points behind the leader, Matthew Bull Pluck. Simon Bishop was not competing last week, but he's managed to maintain 6th overall. John Baggs and Dave Stone have got the last 2 places in the automatic qualifiers for the final. Monkey Matt, you can see he's dropped down to P9 now. 744 points adrift of the lead, but look for him to hopefully crack the top 8 once the drop rounds are all taken into consideration.
Now, we talk about the drop round, so there's 7 weeks in this championship. There's actually 8, but the final week, it's an all-out dogfight at Bathurst, so you've got 7 weeks to prove it. So if you're sitting in that 8th, 9th, 10th position like Monkey Matt or EVP or Damien Main, the other Australian, they're not in the shop for the money, so they've really got to get in that top 8, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. You want to be inside the top 8, get your money, and then get through to the final, and then hopefully get a little bit more money, you know, because there's obviously a round robin, and then there's the winner takes all final where you can win 500 cool Australian dollars for racing around Bathurst.
It's all about that $6,000 week 7 though. Now, who is going to the dogfight? Well, where are we going? It's a pretty iconic night for us tonight, but before we do that, let's find out where we've been and where we're going. So this is the location list, ladies and gentlemen, of the Project Cars Championship. Germany, United Kingdom, Japan, and of course the UAE, Dubai. But tonight it's all about New Zealand. That's right, we're bringing it home to the Kiwis, and what better way to do that? We'll find out what car we're racing as well. But let's find out where we're going, of course, and it's none other than Mike Pero Motorsport Parts, Simon.
Yep, 2 configurations tonight of that circuit. The 2 sprint races are taking place on the club circuit. Then we get onto the Grand Prix layout for the 22 lap feature, a longer version that sees all the squiggly bits on the inside. It's a cool little track, used to host the Lady Wigram Trophy for the Toyota Racing Series, but is one of the most prestigious racetracks down in the South Island. Tonight, we are racing in something with a little bit of Kiwi, I guess, history. The McLaren 650S GT3 topping out at 300 kilometers an hour, 0 to 100 in 3.5 seconds. This bad boy makes 500 horsepower, weighing a little over 1.2 tons. McLaren, big name in terms of New Zealand motorsport and world motorsport. How cool is it to be driving this car?
Pretty freaking cool, and especially, well, we're not driving it, but the races are. Bruce McLaren, obviously an iconic motorsport Kiwi icon. Now, Matt, you know, you're actually going to be looking after the guys as well here. If you're viewing at home, you can actually drive your own iconic supercar. Matt, how do they get into this? How do they do it?
Well, step 1 is to just hang with us as the evening progresses and watch for the Driven code that'll pop up in the corner of your screen. Then visit driven.co.nz, hit the winning tab, enter that code, and you could be in the draw for a couple of you actually. If you've got a mate, bring them along. Hot lap at Hampton Downs and a night at SkyCITY. Sounds awesome to me.
Right, so you and your mate can actually have a drive each, so you guys can battle on the track. Simon, you guys have driven lots of supercars, and we'll find out about that a bit
time
later.
One day, Brendan.
One day. And you can also come here in the beautiful SkyCITY and you get put up in a night there. So get on to driven.co.nz and we can check all about that. Now, before we do that, we need to find out about Ruapuna. These tracks are so realistic. They are mapped with hundreds of thousands of images. So everything we see here, the undulations, it's all coming down. So Simon, explain us, for those that haven't been here, to Mike Pero Motorsport Park.
Yeah, interesting configuration. This circuit sort of balances your need for car control at high speed and low speed. You can see there the red sector, the first turn there is fairly high speed and it really narrows up. So these guys we saw last year, a bit of carnage into turn 1. It is a standing start in these GT3 cars. You go into a tight left-hander and then what we call pothole into a turn 3 there, fast left-hander again. Through the little squiggly bits there, word has it that that's a first gear corner all the way through there. And then obviously through the blue sector at the end, a double apex left-hander to finish things off. It's only 7 degrees tonight at Ruapuna, 10 degrees on track, hardly a breath of wind. It is overcast, and we know that in the past, when it is overcast, it can rain.
Right, so we've got 2 sprint races. We changed things up this Project Cars Championship. So we have 2 sprint races and then a feature race. And who is going to be, or who are the movers and shakers this round? Well, here we go. Let's have a look. And no surprise, the first couple, Matthew Bullpluck and Robert Murphy's-Law Northway, are out on top. The Australian is vying for some vengeance this week. Kyle Madden out of Brisbane, Australia, sitting in 3rd position. And then the Flying Fox, the hometown, that's all we know about this guy, is Seeker. Further down the field, Simon Monkey Matt. That's impressive to see him back up there, and Simon Bishop.
Yeah, the 2 boys who've just come back from New York, 5th and 6th there, Monkey Matt and Simon NZ Simon B. Bishop. Friends down there in P7, Alistair Kuipers, John Baggs and Daniel Pinkham rounding out the top 10. Just 2 tenths between 1st and 2nd in qualifying. EVP, unfortunately, down there in 11th. Info Agent, SYF Crimson and Dave Elke Roberts rounds out the top 14.
All right, well, last week it was all about Madsy, Prenz, Robert Northway. Here's your top qualifiers, and I think all of a sudden, there we are, where the McLaren is on track. So we have a look, Matthew Pluck on pole position. So does that pole, is that on the left-hand side? It is, isn't it, for this? So they get the inside line down into turn 1.
Yeah, but obviously not a staggered start for these guys. So Robert Northway will be side by side, even Stevens probably at the start here going into turn 1. He'll need to get a good getaway standing start in these GT3 cars. Generally in real life we don't see this, but a unique feature obviously of this simulator is that we can do whatever we want. We are at Mike Perrin Motorsport Park. Take a good look at some of the surroundings of the circuit. What was it, over 10,000 photos or something were taken for this track, so everything you see on the track side is as it is in real life. We are getting ready to go racing. Matthew Pluck on pole position. Robert Northway alongside Pluck, already getting a really good getaway. It looks like Tom Madden's got an even better one from P3 on the road, and he's going to get the advantage over Northway into turn 1 and slot him behind the rear wing of Matthew Pluck into the first 2 corners. Northway already demoted down to P4 there. Seeker getting a really good runaway. A little bit of overlap coming into pothole, but Northway wisely just drops back in behind Seeker. But it is Pluck who currently leads the way. Oh, no, bit of drama behind there. Was that Northway?
It was.
Northway's gone. He's binned it already. Last season we saw the same thing happen. We gave him praise early on, and he binned it. It only took 2 corners to do it, though. This time, unfortunately, that bright red McLaren 650S getting all out of shape just on approach to the hairpin there. So unfortunate start there for Northway, who had started from the front rows, dropped all the way down to P9. That will not help his championship hopes. He was sitting in second, and now that's given a big advantage to Matthew Pluck, who leads the way here on lap 1. A quick lap around here, lasting only about 50 seconds, 55 seconds. Cole Madden sitting in P2, Seeker P3, Monkey Matt, Simon Bishop making up a couple of positions. Courtesy of Northway, and we see a mistake there from Cole Madden, just getting onto the grass, getting a little bit loose, and that's really opened up the margin to Pluck in P1.
See, I was expecting all of the chaos to be at the end of this back straight here that we're hurtling down to at the moment with Madden. But coming through pothole, very interesting corner. You know, it seems wide, but it's really a one-line only kind of piece of track, isn't it?
It's a very, very tight corner, and those curbs are not forgiving down through that middle section. What you don't see is it drops down quite a bit. It's notorious for flooding when heavy rains come there, so maybe we'll see some rain. We'll see how that does. Simon Bishop a bit further down the field there, 5th position, but well, it's not uncharacteristic for Northway, is it? Just an unfortunate start, man.
Yeah, we've seen a few mistakes from Northway. Unfortunately, that's sort of been the bane of his campaign to date. He's managed to get back up into P7 there behind Alistair Kuipers, and I don't imagine it'll be long before he dispatches him.
But isn't this the car, the same livery that Van Gisbergen actually competed in the back? It was 6 hour, 12 hour?
Yes.
In this McLaren, he took it out, didn't he?
Yes, this is that exact livery. If you look through the grid, there are actually a couple of different liveries that you'll be familiar with if you watch the CAMS Australian GT Championship over the ditch. There's this one, and there's also the Objective Racing car at the back of the grid. So like a nice little sort of tip of the hat to you know, where these cars, in particular the McLaren, get so much respect and praise.
There's a few cars here as well with American style liveries from the Pro League World Challenge, which has actually changed hands now. That's Blancpain GT North America. So this car here, you can see the Gainsco, that bright red car that Robert Northway is driving at the moment, hunting down Alistair Kuipers. All these cars identical, so it's all down to the driver's skill, and how they can hustle this car around the track.
Now we're saying if you're just joining in and you mean identical, now this is, they've got the tyre wear, they've got damage on, there's a lot of things like that in this game. For the newcomers, we obviously always take for granted that we think everyone here tuning in is always tuning in. So for those that are new tuning in, just give us a bit of a quick rundown, Simon. The 4-1-1 on these cars, and there's Robert Northway takes a little dive and gets the pass quite nicely done.
So this is a GT3 car. Last weekend we saw GT4. GT4 is basically the road cars, your nice Aston Martins and your McLarens. It's sort of a road car souped up, whereas this is a bona fide race car. This has got big aero, big power, big suspension development, lots of brake power as well. So these cars are capable of going, you know, like we said a little bit earlier, 300 kilometers an hour, and they can corner a lot quicker than Matt and mine Honda, you know, so that sort of makes things
Speak for yourself.
a little bit interesting. Yeah, these cars are capable of a lot, and they can run for the best part of 24 hours non-stop without braking. So pretty incredible, the engineering that goes into these cars, and they use a thing called balanced performance between the different manufacturers to ensure that no matter what car you've got, you're roughly within a window that's going to mean that no matter what you've got, you can be competitive.
Now we're looking at 14 races, a couple of drop. Everyone is allowed a drop week within this game, within this championship, so drivers can actually choose that, look, I can't make it that week, I've got mum's poking eye or whatever it is, so they can actually, that's why you're seeing 14. But let's just look back to what I was saying about the tyre wear in this game and the realism as far as this racing car game goes versus the real world.
Well, you did a pretty good example of it earlier when we were having a go on the IndyCar around the circuit, and you just lit up the rear tyres and they went bright red on the telemetry, and for quite a long time they didn't get a lot of grip back into them. And it's just like real life, you know, if you torch those tyres, they're just going to give you no grip because you've got way too much heat in them. You know, a tyre does have an optimal sort of window in which it can operate, and that's what these guys will be hoping for. They call it, basically, you want it to be within the window. So the window is a temperature area in which these guys...
This battle's heating up.
Oh, Northway.
Big hit.
Just shunts the rear of Simon Bishop. Is he going to take the place?
I think he might do. Oh no, Bishop's taking that one back. It was obvious that Northway looked like he'd committed to that dive, and quite late in the piece, Bishop came to defend it, which is what he's entitled to do, obviously. But until this point, I mean, Northway, he dropped to 9th place on track after that lap 1 skirmish. He'd made 2 spots. It was actually going to be quite interesting to see how he would tackle a big clump of 3 cars at once. I don't think it's going to take him long to dispatch Bishop, but a big mistake if he's hoping to make a top 5 out of this race.
Yeah, and the net result of that is that the guys like Seeker and Monkey Matt have just absolutely edged away from these guys. They've got the best part of 10 car lengths ahead of them now, so we'll have to wait and see. Will Northway try his hand again down at the hairpin?
I think he's positioning for it. Bishop was, we go on board with Bishop now, see if there's a giant red streak across the screen. There is. A little bit cleaner that time around though. So you talked about the feat of engineering of these cars. What's kind of interesting is that we bring them here to Ruapuna, where, I mean, normally, you know, it's a very high-speed circuit. The front straight is one of the longest in the country. But that third sector, on this club circuit, there's almost no opportunity for these guys to either A, use that grip, or B, use the aerodynamics of these cars, all the wings and stuff, because it is just so low speed. It's fascinating.
We're talking about the pothole centre section here, and as they come off the back straight.
If you think about where Bishop was nerfed the previous lap, from that corner onwards is the so it's all lefts, rights, and then a corner of course D1NZ you guys will be very familiar with, as we're on board with Monkey Matt Seeker, very defensive. That final carousel, the dipper, as they say down in Christchurch.
I've actually had a go at this myself, drifted right through here. It's a lot of fun, just because this bit here, you're on a bit of a bank, you're coming out, and then it opens up so you can put your foot full down here. Like you said earlier, Simon, this is a late apex, it's the last corner. It's always awesome to really come out of here and just put your foot down full flat to the floor down the front straight, especially because pit wall is right there on the right hand side, so everyone's standing there. Now, in a track like this, is slipstreaming really taking a part of it, or is it just not long enough?
I think we're about to see a little bit of slipstreaming for Monkey Matt. He definitely made up a bit of time in a straight line there. And Seeker, a bit wide coming out of the corner. Contact mid-corner and coming out. Monkey Matt fended, pushed into the infield, and that's going to give a huge opportunity now to the recovering Murphy's Law. And he's coming to his favourite corner as well.
I don't know about favourite corner, but there's going to be some drama here, surely. Down the hairpin, and Northway's going to capitalise on it. The two boys ahead of them banging doors. These McLarens usually not seen hitting each other like that in real life. Oh, no, there's drama behind. It looks like Monkey Matt and Seeker got into each other. So after all that, Seeker has dropped all the way down to P7 and Monkey Matt P8. We were talking about that section being too tight to pass on, and they just proved it there. Maybe just a little bit too impatient. It was only lap 9 of 15 here. Still plenty of time to go. And that's just handed Northway basically a free kick, considering that spin that he had at the start of the race. So he's actually up 1 place where he was just before the spin. So fantastic job for him to see that opportunity, seize it, and get by.
probably just as big as well is that it's a couple of free spots for Bishop. We're probably, looking at Northway's pace and the way that he's been able to repeatedly just charge through fields after spinning on lap 1 and having these sorts of dramas. Bishop, on the other hand, I think he was actually just retired and just happy to be sitting behind those 2 cars. 2 free spots for him, easy as you like. That mistake, I mean, that whole saga started on the front straight with the draft that Monkey Matt got and the pressure that put on Seeker to actually be active at turn 1 and defend. That mistake at turn 1, 5 corners later, it came to blows.
Unnecessary, would you say?
No, I mean more of that. That was great.
Yeah, that was great.
I'm sure Monkey Matt and Seeker probably think different things right now, I'd say.
Well, Monkey Matt does have a red stripe next to his name, and if you do come off these tracks, the game's just like traditional. As we look at the Star Insurance replay, they do, maybe you've missed that on the replay, but they do actually penalise you, just like in real life. Motorsport New Zealand officials will do it. Daniel Pinkham now down the back, straight and right in front of him is the guy that was all involved in that tassel.
Oh, wide.
Wow.
Very far off the racing line, and he's looked at coming back on as well.
See you later.
I love it how they've even got the notorious red quad bikes that everybody, like, when you hire Mike Puro Motorsport Park, within your hire you can actually hire those red quad bikes, and the staff just, there's lots of jumps in this.
There is nothing more feared in New Zealand motorsport than the people who ride those bikes. Yep. Absolutely, those guys. I mean, credit to them, it's volunteer stuff, but yeah, I would not be hooning across the deserts of Christchurch and those things.
Yeah, the attention to detail on this track is crazy. Even some of the positionings of the plastic bollards, the cones, just little things. The fences, the scope signs. You don't normally see Kiwi companies feature in a video game, let alone a Kiwi track. So it's pretty crazy how much detail there is in this circuit. And
that's all really thanks to well, mainly one guy, isn't it?
Yeah, Tony Cross, friend of ours, photographer down the South Island, was given the task of photographing the entire circuit, every single little curb. Best part of 10,000 photos from his documenting of the circuit. I think if you even look close enough, you can see the mountains in the background, but it is fairly overcast here today, so we might not be able to see those heading into turn 1, but we'll keep an eye on it, see how it goes.
You do have to, I actually have to do a big shout out to Tony Cross and Jetty Autosport, and they produced some videos, and we put it on D1NZ last week. Over 2 million reached and 800,000 people viewed. So the boys that took the photos and helped make this track are also doing exceptionally well on video making as well. Monkey Matt, now we take a look at him sitting in 7th position right behind Seeker there. Seeker's obviously had a bit of a stellar season coming in, first time ever, but we don't know if it's his first time ever, but it's hometown bragging rights. So right now Seeker wants to be up the top with Pluck and Northway, but unfortunately for this race we are going to see potentially some track variances, and we might see the other track used in the next sprint race.
So we're going to use the same circuit, the same club circuit for the sprint race, but it's the feature that will see the Grand Prix layout, the longer version of the circuit, and a longer race as well. So I think we've got four guys that are competing from Christchurch tonight, so home bragging rights. Okay, so five competitors from Christchurch: Matthew Pluck, Monkey Matt Smith, Robert Northway, EVP, and Seeker.
Well, we're going to find out a bit more. We're going to have a bit of a hometown look, so to speak, further on with, I think, EVP and Monkey Matt, which I'm looking forward to. Bit of they're going to take us for a guided tour or something. I haven't actually seen all of it myself. A bit of a surprise. Bruce McLaren Motorsport Park. Now, if you guys are in the South Island and you're tuning in, about 8 weeks away is the actual 60th, I think, anniversary. It's a historic 50th of Waimate 50. It's a big celebration going down there. Don't quote me, but it was the race in 1959 that Bruce McLaren won himself. It's New Zealand's longest standing street race. It's very iconic, and it's fitting that we're in the South Island tonight as well of New Zealand. That gets a bit of a push and a shove. It's a feat to Rob and the Waimate 50 crew for bringing. How cool is that? Bruce McLaren won it in 1959, and it's here now still.
The best thing I think about that event, I mean, you talk about the history and all that sort of thing.
Last lap.
We'll come back to it later, but Matthew Pluck dominant again here at in Christchurch.
Yeah, great result there for the hometown hero. He's going to take race 1 here tonight. Flashes the headlights as he comes across the line. Takes a dominant 5-second win over Kyle Madden, who we'll hopefully see come around the final corner in a moment now. There he goes, across the line. P2 for him. And Robert Northway, a very, very distant P4 there, has managed to do a good job and hold off Simon Bishop late in the piece there. Bishop coming home, P4 just off the podium. Prinz will bring home P5, we hope, in a moment's time. Yep, so fifth for Sika and Monkey Matt, those two boys getting into each other earlier in the race. Bit of a shunt there as they come across the finish line. Elsa Kuipers comes home in P8. EVP will around the final corner with Daniel Pinkham
This is just clinical.
Like us, you're passionate about cars. At Star Insurance Specialist, we create custom policies for Kiwis with exceptional vehicles. If you own a vintage, classic, performance, project or prestige car, your needs don't fit neatly into a box. We think special and unique cars deserve special and unique insurance. We don't let robots determine policy or price. Get on the road with a custom policy from Star Insurance Specialists. Go to starinsure.co.nz today.
War is upon us.
They might have found another kill. Carly out of position.
And there will be no dialogue.
He's just beyond godlike. The words speak for themselves.
Show no mercy.
It's gonna be a wash as everyone was either dead or retreating.
And be relentless. Enlist for war.
Need a ride? Thanks to Ola and Let's Play Live, we are hooking you up. Simply apply the code on screen to get your first ride free. T's and C's apply.
Test your limit. Drive with the fastest.
Into the inside. Has he got it, McQueen? Will he block?
Take control.
And he gets it. Job done. Can he hold on to it?
Redefine speed.
It's a drag race to the finish. Who's it going to be?
Fantastic racing. Look, he is pumped. He is absolutely stoked.
Be the fastest.
G'day, I'm Sam, and here at driven.co.nz, we've got a nifty toolbox to help make buying and selling a car easier. Selling, but not sure what price to put on it? Our car value calculator will give you a really good starting point. If you're buying a new car, our cost to run tool will give you a rough estimate of what the car will cost you each year to run. We can also tell you the best time to sell so you get the sweetest possible return. Check out the toolbox at driven.co.nz.
Need a ride? Thanks to Ola and Let's Play Live, we are hooking you up. Simply apply the code on screen to get your first ride free. T's and C's apply.
This is just clinical.
Like us, you're passionate about cars. At Star Insurance Specialist, we create custom policies for Kiwis with exceptional vehicles. If you own a vintage, classic, performance, project or prestige car, your needs don't fit neatly into a box. We think special and unique cars deserve special and unique insurance. We don't let robots determine policy or price. Get on the road with a custom policy from Star Insurance Specialists. Go to starinsure.co.nz today.
War is upon us.
They might have found another kill. Carly out of position.
And there will be no dialogue.
He's just beyond godlike. The words speak for themselves.
Show no mercy.
It's gonna be a wash as everyone was either dead or retreating.
And be relentless. Enlist for war.
Need a ride? Thanks to Ola and Let's Play Live, we are hooking you up. Simply apply the code on screen to get your first ride free. T's and C's apply.
Test your limit. Drive with the fastest.
Through into the inside. Has he got it, McQueen? Will he block?
Take control.
And he gets it. Job done. Can he hold on to it?
Redefine speed.
It's a drag race to the finish.
Who's it going to be?
Fantastic racing. Look, he is pumped. He is absolutely stoked.
Be the fastest.
G'day, I'm Sam, and here at driven.co.nz, we've got a nifty toolbox to help make buying and selling a car easier. Selling, but not sure what price to put on it? Our car value calculator will give you a really good starting point. If you're buying a new car, our cost to run tool will give you a rough estimate of what the car will cost you each year to run. We can also tell you the best time to sell so you get the sweetest possible return. Check out the toolbox at driven.co.nz.
Need a ride? Thanks to Ola and Let's Play Live, we are hooking you up. Simply apply the code on screen to get your first ride free. T's and C's apply.
This is just clinical.
Like us, you're passionate about cars. At Star Insurance Specialist, we create custom policies for Kiwis with exceptional vehicles. If you own a vintage, classic, performance, project or prestige car, your needs don't fit neatly into a box. We think special and unique cars deserve special and unique insurance. We don't let robots determine policy or price. Get on the road with a custom policy from Star Insurance Specialists. Go to starinsure.co.nz today.
War is upon us.
They might have found another kill. Carly out of position.
And there will be no dialogue.
He's just beyond godlike. The words speak for themselves.
Show no mercy.
It's gonna be a wash as everyone was either dead or retreating.
And be relentless. Enlist for war.
Need a ride? Thanks to Ola and Let's Play Live, we are hooking you up. Simply apply the code on screen to get your first ride free. T's and C's apply.
Test your limit. Drive with the fastest.
Through into the inside. Has he got it, McQueen? Will he block?
Take control.
And he gets it. Job done. Can he hold on to it?
Redefine speed.
It's a drag race to the finish. Who's it going to be? Fantastic racing. Look, he is pumped. He is absolutely stoked.
Be the fastest.
G'day, I'm Sam, and here at driven.co.nz, we've got a nifty toolbox to help make buying and selling a car easier. Selling, but not sure what price to put on it? Our car value calculator will give you a really good starting point. If you're buying a new car, our cost to run tool will give you a rough estimate of what the car will cost you each year to run. We can also tell you the best time to sell so you get the sweetest possible return. Check out the toolbox at driven.co.nz.
Need a ride? Thanks to Ola and Let's Play Live, we are hooking you up. Simply apply the code on screen to get your first ride free. T's and C's apply.
This is just clinical.
like really enunciated. Boogity, 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 boogity.
One that's right.
It's a white dude who's absolutely oh, maybe he's ripping off Darryl Waltrip from NASCAR.
He's like at the end of it. Hi, Colin.
Yeah.
Boogity, boogity, boogie. Yes, hello, my name is Daniel Allen and I'm a pretty little face. Alright, my name is Kyle Madden. It's Kyle Madden out in qualifying right now. We are back. Welcome back. It is the start. You'd have to excuse us before we were standing here commentating to ourselves for a bit. Well, we're back. Welcome. It's the LPL Star Insurance Project Cars to us, a feature race for qualifying. Madden is currently out on. He hasn't banked a lap, but he is on the lead. Pluck sitting out there with a 119 behind him. Simon, Matthew, we've been entertaining ourselves. The wet race, pretty epic. We unfortunately missed out on the epic race that was the wet race and the sprint race. But feature race qualifying, what can we say?
Well, it's a new circuit now. I mean, we've gone from the short club circuit of before. This is the full Ruapuna treatment. We get a whole new set of corners on the inside of the circuit, and we go from something that I guess on the surface was quite sort of simple, apart from the weaving and ducking of Sector 3, to something that's actually a lot more complicated and I guess challenging for these drivers.
All right, 22 laps, ladies and gentlemen. It is meant to be overcast, but then it is meant to come into a storm. So we might see a bit of what we saw in the past race, which was, if you were tuned in and just watching without the commentary, there was some good battles going on.
Yeah, it's a shame that we couldn't have a yarn about that one because there was some great door-to-door racing that you don't normally see in GT3 stuff. You can't get it in the sim racing world. Fantastic battle there between Matthew Pluck and Robert Northway. Northway currently is only 7th in the standings in this qualifying session at the moment. He's on a 121.511, which is the best part of 2.5 seconds adrift of Matthew Pluck. Pluck, who was his adversary in the second race. Now he is streaked away 2.5 tenths ahead of Kyle Madden.
You say that sort of contact isn't really sort of consistent in GT3 racing and sports car racing. Part of that is really just because these cars are built to a much more fragile standard. We talked earlier on in the evening about how much they are sort of engineering marvels and the amount of tech that's in these cars. But with every sort of step of that's added, you tend to add a bit of fragility, a bit of and people don't get into each other quite so much because of it. Whereas some things like, say, the supercars, like the British touring cars, TCR, those sorts of cars they're constructed in a way that encourages a little bit of that sort of paint exchange.
Yeah, and I guess as well, you got to consider that these cars have got some pretty sharp little canards on the front end of the car. Can puncture a tyre pretty easily if you do have some nose-to-tail contact. Certainly something to consider when you're racing one of these in real life. Doesn't seem to really take as much of an effect in Project Cars 2 as what it would in real life, but hopefully we'll stay on board here for this last lap with Kyle Madden, THR Madzi AU. He's coming around the final corner at the moment. He will start another lap. Currently, he is sitting pretty at the top of the standings at the moment. He's only got a 10th advantage over Matthew Pluck though, so Pluck has been demoted down the order. Madden, the only guy doing a sub 1 minute 19, but here he goes into turn 1. We'll hopefully keep an eye on him. Heads into turn 2, gets a little bit onto the grass and is a little bit wide of the apex, but apex is pretty late there. Runs it all the way out onto the concrete turf. Then we're heading through pothole. This tight but fast left-hander turn 3. Grab a bit of that curve really sideways, and it's a bit of a mistake there from Kyle Madden. That might ruin his run to the checkered flag.
I think he salvaged it though. That he would have cost himself plenty of time skipping across the circuit like that and added a bit to the length of the lap. But he caught that pretty well. If he keeps his boot in here and he gets a really good run through this last sector, he could still be onto something.
It's crazy to see this car so loose. We're not traditionally used to seeing GT3 cars with all that downforce to play with being really sideways, but coming through pothole, maybe just grabbed a little bit too much of that curb, sent him sideways and across the track and into the grass. And generally if you do get into the grass, that invalidates your lap time. So we'll wait and see now
2 wheels
Can
or 4
Madden,
wheels?
well, 4 wheels generally, but I think you've just jinxed it, mate, because he's just done it now. That'll ruin his lap time, and that will end any chance of him getting one up over Matthew Pluck, who has actually got back into P1. So he is 0.155 ahead of Kyle Madden as it stands. Monkey Matt doing a really good job there down in P3, but the man that we're missing is Robert Northway. He's only 7th. So considering his great performances in race 1 and race 2, he's only qualified 7th for the final feature, the one that really matters too, because that's the one where you can get those valuable 200 points to your credit.
You talked about how loose this track is and how sort of in I guess the real world how it's regarded as quite a sort of slippery track. I think we're seeing a lot of that at the moment as we see Northway slipping and sliding, people sliding into pothole, into all those new sections. We were watching Monkey Matt have a few sort of mares before.
Looped it all on his own, Robert Northway. That was a little bit of an odd one there down at the final corner, so he will not improve from 7th on the road. Monkey Matt has done a fantastic job to get up into P3. That'll probably be one of his best qualifying efforts for the season, behind Matthew Pluck and Kyle Madden. Matthew Pluck doing a really good job, the hometown hero in Christchurch. He's got 1 win, Northway's got another. Will we see one of these boys standing on top of the podium by the end of tonight? We look now at the qualifying session results. Matthew Pluck leading there by just 0.155 over Kyle Madden there. Monkey Matt comes home P3 and Seeker does the top 4. Prenz picks up P5, John Baggs P6, and Robert Northway all the way down to P7. Info agent Daniel Pinkham and EVP rounding out the top 10, but there is a surprise omission from this qualifying session. Matt, what's the story?
Simon Bishop of Tech Dramas. I mean, we're all having a bit of a Tech Drama day today, and it looks like it's no different for him. He won't be in this one, so people like Saker, people like Monkey Matt, time to step up and reclaim some points.
Fade, S-Wave Crimson and Alistair Kuipers down there in 11th, 12th and 13th respectively. Dave Alki Roberts brings up the rear of the field. Not very good for him down the order. So we are only a few moments away from getting into the final race of the night here at Mike Pirro Motorsport Park. It's going to be a barn burner. 23 laps around this Grand Prix circuit. Used to host the Lady Wigram Cup back when the Castrol Toyota Racing Series used to race here at this iconic circuit. You can see the mountains in the background there. It's a spectacular setting here at Ruapuna, not far from the CBD. In fact, was lucky to get away in the Christchurch earthquakes. Didn't suffer too much damage. Obviously a pretty historic venue, you wouldn't want to see any damage to it. So we are only a moment away from getting this race started. It is Matthew Pluck on pole position with Kyle Madden alongside him in P2. Can Monkey Matt or Seeker make some inroads off the start here, or maybe Prenz or John Baggs? John Baggs doing a really good job to get up into P6 for the start of this race, but watch for that man in the red, the bright red McLaren 650S, the GT3 car, Robert Murphy's Law Northway. Expect him to make some moves early on in this race. I can't imagine he'll be sitting down in P7 for very long. We await the start now. The red lights will go on and we will go racing. The final feature here at Mike Pirro Motorsport Park. We're racing and it looks like Monkey Matt's got a fantastic jump away and Kyle Madden's got the whole shot into turn 1 by the looks of things. Are they going to go 3 wide into the tight first turn? It does narrow drastically through here. Can they make it through safely? We wait and see. Kyle Madden, your pole position sitter, has dropped back down into P3 now, and it is Pluck who leads the way with Monkey Matt looking to get up into P2. Can he get past? Kyle Madden just backs out wisely, grabs a bit of that curb, but look at that, Robert Northway's made a stellar start to get up into P3. There's some drama further behind, and in a moment Northway is going to be all the way up into 3rd overall. Fantastic start for him. He's demoted Monkey Matt down to P4, and John Baggs sitting comfortably there in P5. We saw Daniel Pinkham go off the road, and it looks like SYF Crimson has also made a mistake there down the order, but as it stands, it is Matthew Bull Pluck who leads the way here through the first couple of sectors.
chaotic opening lap, but at the front of the field it's Pluck once again, a familiar face this evening, taking the lead, leading by a comfortable margin, but 22 laps, a lot can happen in over that time, and I think the big thing, we've got to look at that red car. So we talked about Northway and traffic in the second race, today, and his ability to chop through it. So no, it was the first race actually. So he's now, he's made enormous inroads on the first lap. 4 spots in the space of maybe 3 or 4 corners. It's when you're in these situations, it's often about how quick you can process the field and just rack them and stack them, and he's doing a really good job of that so far.
Rack him and stack him, he surely is at the moment. He's got 17th advantage over Kyle Madden at the moment. Northway there in P3 just looking on. Has dropped back a few tenths on lap 2 here. 23 lap feature race on the Grand Prix circuit. I think Northway is time to shine. It is now. We're coming to the back end of the championship, and he will be wanting to get a leg up over Pluck in this title fight.
Well, someone we're on board with right now is Preens, also a local, sitting in 6th position. Ahead of him, our uncharacteristic move is John Baggs, so in 5th position, but Preens and EVP both had a stellar sprint race in the second race, so bit of spotlight here for Preens at the moment. Will he be able to get it past John Baggs to get right behind there in Monkey Matt? Currently the distance between first and second, only 1 second, but a big 6 to 7 seconds right now in between these guys. We go further upfield now. Monkey Matt, there you go, chasing down Robert Northway, sitting in 3rd position as they kind of even out. They kind of start getting into their groove. Lap 2 of 23 here for the feature race, Mike Pro Motorsport Park.
The encouraging thing of your Monkey Man is that he hasn't really been gapped by the top 3. He's someone who we haven't really seen him dicing in the top 3. There was that strategic race a few rounds ago where he featured, but to see him on the edge of that, the big thing, A, it's a great result for him, but also B, when we're thinking about the championship, we're all obviously keeping track of the people who are 1st, 2nd, 3rd, but Monkey Matt, he's right on the cusp of that top 8 qualifying. It'll be interesting to see if he can make amends today as we see Preens have a look up the inside. He will make that move stick though at the hairpin. Much cleaner than some of the moves we've seen tonight.
Good job there from John Baggs to actually just slot him behind and just sit behind the back of Preens. Preens doing a good job to get into P5 as well. Monkey Matt just up ahead of him in P4.
John Baggs definitely going to be looking for some results here. He's currently sitting outside the bubble bump at the moment. So Dave Stone, Simon Bishop, Preens, Madsy's another one that's definitely going to be looking for some results here. Sitting in 2nd position, it's probably wise to sit there and not play it too, drastic at the moment. Those championship points, as we get further along the championship into the pointy end to take out that title, who would be in the top 8 to come here live at LPL Studios for the grand finale? It's the Bathurst pit stop, Simon.
Yeah, interesting. I just saw there, looked like maybe a little bit of rain coming down here at the circuit, so guys coming in maybe getting in early to put some wet tyres on. So it is only lap 3 here of 23. We saw in the last race, unfortunately our commentary wasn't able to come through to you, but it was certainly wet and made things very spicy at Mike Pero Motorsport Park. Will we see some more drama still to come? Will we see a change of strategy like we did at Silverstone, where we saw guys running on the slick tyres to the end, running on the wet tyres as well? What do you do?
A lot of these boys are doing the undercut, aren't they? They're further down the field. So they're all right, okay, we'll take that undercut. John Baggs, he was up there, so he's taken the early pit stop, but a lot of the Plucks, the Maddens, the Northways, the Monkey Mats, they've all stayed out. Whether they're just not quite where the pit was, and to get that entry, you'll see them probably come in now as they come back around towards the front straight. So are we going to see, it said storm in track highlights.
Well, the risk of an undercut, and as we see Pluck now comes in for his crucial stop, will someone follow him behind? You can see the sort of the array of debris from previous people who've made stops and been a bit wide coming into pit entry. There he is, Madden as well.
As is Monkey Matt.
The interesting thing here, if it rains, all these cars have to come in again. So why do you do, if there's a big serious risk of this rain getting worse, these guys, are they going to have to come back in for wets too?
Sorry, excuse me, guys.
I don't know. I guess your tyre strategy is an interesting one. I can't imagine that with the rain coming down now that you'd be putting wet weather tyres on. If you're Robert Northway, do you just chance your arm and try and stay out as long as possible?
I think you do.
I think at the moment you'd probably say yes. He's just done a 1:20.358, so there's certainly no lack of pace from that McLaren 650 SGT3. We look further down the order at some of the times at the moment, 1:58 for those guys who've already pitted, so we still wait for some representative lap times to come through, and we'll be able to give you an idea of whether or not it really is wet enough to get onto the wet weather tyre. Certainly doesn't look like there's much in the way of puddles on the circuit at the moment. Usually when the puddles start to form, that's when it gets a little bit tricky, a little bit dicey, and certainly makes it hard when you're on the slick tyre. We saw last time we were at Silverstone, Robert Northway, I believe it was on the, I think the slick tyre, and it was drying out, and he's actually decided to come in now. It was drying out, he was on the slick tyre, but there were still some really big puddles towards the end of the race there, and unfortunately that caught him out and ended his chances of getting a race win. But we see now on lap 5 here of 23, he comes into the pit lane, bright blue pit stop crew getting out with those wet weather tyres. Wait and see now what the times are. It looks like a 2:01 from Madzi, a 2:07 from Pren, so it looks like he's made a mistake at some point. A 1:54 from Matthew Pluck. Jeez, pretty slow, all things considered. Seekit a 1:27, John Baggs a 1:28. We'll wait and see now, does the overcut work for Northway, going that little bit longer now? Kyle Madden is rounding the final corner while battling with Matthew Pluck.
Few things are worse than a fresh slick tyre in these kinds of conditions, and we can actually see a bit of water actually now coming off that tyre. But there's Northway, he's now second of the pitted cars anyway, behind Matthew Pluck. So I think it has made a bit of a benefit for him, because I mean he's closed that gap, A, and also B, he's no longer embroiled in a battle for third.
Yeah, Madden was actually there battling with Monkey Matt, so Pluck has still maintained a healthy advantage in this race, 2.5 seconds ahead. So Monkey Matt we're watching now chasing down Kyle Madden. Further behind them is Prenz. I believe all the main contenders in the race have pitted now for wet weather tyres. Whether it gets heavy enough or not to make things a little bit chaotic, we'll have to wait and see. There's certainly some spray coming off those tyres.
So that's the urban myth, well not the urban myth, but that's the theory in motorsport. When you start seeing clear spray coming off cars, that's generally the time to swap for slicks, or swap your slicks for wets. And naturally now we're seeing a lot more serious rain coming over the circuit, particularly in that sort of infield track, and there's plenty of it there as well as the rain comes. I'm wondering here how many of these cars actually put on wet weather tyres during that stop. I imagine quite a few of them did.
Yeah, we'll wait and see now as Pluck comes across the line. He's done a 1:23 that last lap. Northway understandably does a 1:28, being his first time out. Madden does a 1:24. Monkey Matt doing a 1:25. So Pluck clearly the class of the field at the moment now, 3 seconds ahead of Northway on those wet weather tyres. Certainly has got this McLaren 650 SGT3 mastered. Still early days here. There's only lap 7 of 23 here. Long time left in this race. Plenty of time for Northway to catch up to Pluck. Plenty of time for the weather conditions to change, and maybe we'll see guys coming in for slick tyres. Who knows? But certainly looks like it's getting wetter at the moment. We'll have to wait and see how the conditions change. Daniel Pinkham coming into the pit lane now. He's a distant P14 at the moment, so I think he might be just calling it a day. Maybe he's got a bit too much damage on his McLaren.
Any idea who's got the actual lap record for the Grand Prix Micro Motorsports? Your knowledge, Simon?
That's an interesting one, because I'm not sure whether that's a TRS record or whether it's a Formula Atlantic record. I think it might be Greg Murphy or Scott Dixon or Simon Wills, one of the three.
Is he on to it?
Wow, that is pretty good. Scott Dixon.
Scott Dixon in a Reynard?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, you're a book of knowledge, aren't you? How cool is that?
Yeah, back in the day, eh? I don't think I was even alive then.
1998.
I was 1 year old.
1 year old. One healthy year. Wow.
Yeah, crazy, eh? Yeah, it's a cool little circuit, this one. Certainly hard to pass on, but these guys have proven tonight that you can make it happen. We're currently watching Seeker at the moment, trying to chase down John Baggs. It looks like Krenz has got a penalty next to his name, as has Fade. So maybe some 1 or 2 second penalties that'll affect the results. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out.
But if you're wondering, if you've got any questions about esports, about Project Cars 2, sim racing, get on twitch.tv, get on to Let's Play Live. Chat is live. You can also see down the bottom right hand corner, I think that's the first time tonight we might have even seen it, your chance to win.
Win with Matthew Hansen. That's right, Matthew is actually from Driven.
Matt's not going to be there though, that's okay.
That's okay, he's not going to critique your driving.
Trust me.
But you can win a drive with you and one other in a Lamborghini Huracan thanks to Hampton Downs and SkyCity. You can actually stay here at SkyCity as well.
Fascinating. We were talking about how the complexion of this race has changed. Pluck has had his lead cut into massively. Northway is only a second behind now, so it's starting to get pretty heated up the front now, and as the rain's stopping, I think, certainly a bit of a shine on the circuit, but I'm not sure that the rain is falling as hard as what it was before. We'll have to go outside. No, certainly it is raining fairly heavily now as we come through Pothole. This has been the tricky section for everyone in this race. Pretty much in real life too. It's a tough part of the circuit. You think you've got a lot more tarmac to play with, but you certainly don't when you get there. You see plenty of cars go off the road. Have a bit of carnage down there.
So what we're seeing really is a continuation of race 2. These two guys duking it out in weird conditions, you know, in treacherous conditions for these cars. Northway, I mean, he's got a couple more passing opportunities now with the addition of the full-length version of the Ruapuna circuit, but actually not a huge amount of extra passing opportunities. What it really does, probably, is it makes that last corner just a little bit more appetising to send it. You can get a much better run out of this corner that we're coming through right here. As you see, Pluck actually misses the apex by a good half car width. And no, it won't be this lap by, but you can see Northway making a little bit of progress.
Oh, maybe a bit too deep though.
Deep.
I was just going to say, that final corner is a bit deceptive because you see guys start really wide and try and apex really late, and it sort of lures you into a sense of, okay, I can send it down the inside, but in actual fact what happens is these guys come across your nose as we come down into turn 1 and into turn 2. This is reminiscent of the race that we unfortunately weren't able to be with you for. We saw these guys going hell for leather through the first sector. Northway putting the pressure on Pluck through the first few corners. Pluck seeming to be a little bit more loose than Northway at the moment, despite all Northway's faults. Seems to be able to put a good charge in. Wow, really defensive driving there from Pluck. Borderline, some would say.
Now you're allowed to do that though in racing, aren't you? Like for a newbie watching at home, you're allowed to defend, you're allowed to block.
He left him a car's width, but now I'm not sure he will. He might just get down the inside. Oh, is that a bit of a touch? A bump and run potentially. Pluck goes off the circuit just a little bit, gives him a bit more door. Northway's going to have the inside run here now. These boys are playing for keeps, and Northway has got down the inside. But will Pluck give some back? I don't think so. Northway has finally got clear. There might be a bit of chatter on the forums after this race, after that one, because I'm not sure that Pluck was happy being nudged out of the way, but I equally don't think Northway was happy being blocked all the time through that first sector. But already you can see Northway's got the best part of half a second, and we'll see the cone go flying over the top of the McLaren. That will not be helping the aerodynamics on that car.
I was chatting to Robert yesterday actually, and it's funny because I just mentioned that there's not a huge amount of extra passing opportunities in that portion of the circuit. Last night he was saying that he prides himself on taking corners that people don't normally look at as passing opportunities and making them into passing opportunities. So he's actually gone and done that, and I'll eat my words, because that was a great passage of racing as we go on board with Seika, having a look up the inside, heading into the hairpin on potentially, is that Monkey Man in that car?
John Baggs. Gets the deal done. So they've been battling out a little bit, oh, maybe not side by side down the front straight potentially, but Seika had a great race in that race. That's the sprint race too. So did EVP. Unfortunately, EVP sitting way further down, so they go 2 abreast down into turn 1, but will be Seika who has the inside line and the advantage.
So John Baggs got a bit of a second lease on life because there's multiple lines, as you mentioned just a few minutes ago, multiple lines coming out of that last corner. I think normally what we see in racing conditions is the drivers aim to V the corner, so they try to cut for an early apex and they run wide mid-corner for a late apex to sort of straighten off the corner as much as possible coming outwards, as we see Baggs getting a little bit sideways and locking the rears, bagging it up, absolutely.
One thing that we haven't really spoken too much tonight about is puddle. I don't know how you can make puddles interesting, but Project Cars certainly have figured out a way to do
all sorts
it.
of things can happen.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Not good things.
No.
But dynamic puddles. No two puddles are the same on this game, apparently. So they have dynamic weather where the rain will fall and the puddles in between races don't necessarily form the same way that they would
in a normal race.
In a normal racing
in
game.
the racetrack as it is.
Yeah.
One thing I do notice though is in the centre section in the sprint races, it was forming in the places that you'd see it forming, obviously with the height differences.
And that's one of the good things that you can do with sim racing. You can scan the circuits, you can see the elevation change, you can figure out where it's going to puddle in some sections more than others. You can see now some of that evidence down at the hairpin. You can see exiting the corner as well. But Northway, man, he's really flipped this race on its head. Northway now out to 2.5 seconds over Matthew Pluck. I don't know that we've seen the end of that result though, because there was a bit of a NASCAR style bump and run there.
Alright, you guys are down from Christchurch and you want to get along to Mike Perry Motorsport Park, they actually have Drift South next weekend, but they run regular track days. So this weekend you can actually take your own car down there. Canterbury Car Club, it's a local car club, you can join and you can actually take your car out, just like that. So they've got local auto carners, motor carners. It's quite easy, so you know, you want to ever have EVP. Well, we talked about EVP earlier on, how he had such a great race and sprint race too. It was sort of uncharacteristic, I didn't see that. So yeah, if you want to get down, Mike Perry Motorsport Park this weekend actually has a motor car and auto carner, and then next weekend is the round 1 of the Drift South series, which you actually see on all the walls here in this game. So Drift South, it's the local South Island Drifting Championship, is down there that weekend. Run by Mike Perry Motorsport Park, Canterbury Car Club, one of the longest standing car clubs of New Zealand, 1960s I think it was formed. It's pretty epic.
They're a very dedicated group of people down there. We see it each year when the BNTB 8s through the Toyota Racing Series shows up. Obviously, unfortunately, it's not on the calendar this year, but you always see all of the camper vans and so many people lining the fences. And that's the other beautiful thing about this circuit, is that if you rock up as a spectator, you don't even really necessarily need to leave your car. You can just park your car right next to the track, chili bin, and you're right next to the track. It's as close as you'll get, for pretty much any motorsport facility in the country.
Well, we chatted about obviously the BNTV8s and TCR and the TRS. They're actually heading to Invercargill, even further south, another 4.5, 5 hours south. So is D1NZ. It's round 1 Teretonga in the end of January. They actually rock their cars up next to the track as well, but they also bring boats, houses, camper vans. It's like a different atmosphere in Invercargill.
Probably preparing for the arc. I might personally, my favourite racetrack in the country, Invercargill. Invergiggle. Land of southern sushi. that is just cheese rolls for anyone keeping it at home. Just a great circuit again, another one where you can get right up close to the action.
It's like 7 turns or something.
Very raw track. Yeah. Everyone who goes on it, and we talk about, we were talking about podcasts I think a few weeks ago. David Reynolds, one of his favourite track in the country. Just incredibly raw, and it's quite frightening.
Certainly doesn't take any prisoners when you crash there.
No. That's a topic for another day though, isn't it, Simon?
I might do a podcast on that.
There's your code once again for the Driven Awards, the prize for that we've got coming up, a great day at Hampton Downs in a Lamborghini Huracan. Check it out, driven.co.nz. I think it's getting worse this rain. The track is darkening, the lights are on, everyone's got their lights on now. A few of them didn't have them on before, but these are horrific conditions. Not only is, as we see, Kuiper's going without the lights, stealth in the rearview mirror of his rival at the moment, but on top of visibility concern, I mean that's the main thing as well. Visibility, you'll find it harder to see all your brake markers. Trying on the inside at pothole, nothing doing there. But also, I mean, the puddles that we talk about, they're going to be getting steeper and steeper. This is where these guys are really earning their money tonight.
Northway extends his lead out to 4 seconds now over Matthew Ballpark. Monkey Matt, a whopping 18 seconds behind that. So there are some drastic gaps here. A bit of a closer proximity there between Monkey Matt, Kyle Madden and Prenz. 19, 24 and 28 seconds, but Northway Dude is running a clinic tonight at his local home track. He will be getting the bragging rights unless he does something which is sometimes characteristic in himself of just burning it. Now, if you guys want to get involved with New Zealand motorsport as well, the summer series, check out speedworks.co.nz. You can see the Northern Endurance Series. They actually have a McLaren. McLaren's like this within the series. You would have seen it at CRC Speed Show, but also you can see all the season launch at Big Boys Toys coming up November the 1st, 2nd and 3rd. The Speedworks Series and D1NZ will be having a big haul there. Motorsport Madness is coming to New Zealand. Fans have asked for it for a long time now, for everyone to unite and give you one action-packed series. So we're dropping the mic, and that is it. Check it out this summer. Yes, Simon.
Not too dissimilar actually from what Supercars Australia are doing at the moment with their setup for next year. They've got Australian Superbikes on the calendar for next year and Stadium Super Trucks. So
I see that Cam's actually relinquished the ruling or allowed them back, basically. There was a ban. Yeah, there was a ban for a while, wasn't there, for some reason?
Yeah, it might have been some skids on the public roads.
Robbie Gordon, g'day if you're watching.
Yeah.
And they're coming back actually earlier this year too, so which is quite interesting. Not only have they lifted it, but they're bringing that category back really early.
You know, before all that debacle went down, they were supposed to come to New Zealand, and that never happened. I wonder if we might see them at the ANZ event next year.
Well, if you don't, Jeff Short, if you're listening, get a hold of Robbie Gordon, mate, and let's see that on the Speedworks calendar coming up next year, maybe.
I heard something ridiculous, like it's $1 million or something to get.
Maybe you won't see that on the Speedworks calendar.
Just the utes.
Just the utes.
Just the utes. It costs $1 million to get them to Australia to each event.
Well, I suspect part of that isn't just sort of obviously the vehicles and the people, but it's things like the jumps and
Robbie Gordon's licensing fees.
That as well. That's about 800 grand out of $1 million probably. But the jumps and all the sort of unique infrastructure that category needs. Obviously, you know, next time they're out at the Supercars, which is at the Gold Coast event. That's coming up after the Pukekohe round.
Under lights, is that this year or is that next year?
That's next year. Right. That is going to be chaos.
The Gold Coast, I've got friends that like get apartments, and it is just one big party weekend. I can't say what goes on, but use your imagination. Apartments everywhere, people everywhere. It's a good weekend. If there's one weekend you're going to do Supercars, that's the one about.
Matthew and I had the privilege of catching up with Fabian Coulthard today with one of the pre-Supercars events, and we were talking about Gold Coast and how wild that was going to be, and it's going to be a lot like the Singapore Grand Prix. Apparently it's going to be all lit up, you're going to have big floodlights on it, and I said to Fabs, was like, how about we bring back the International Co-Driver race? And he immediately just went, oh my god, no, never again, never again.
So for those people at home that don't know why,
basically Supercars were like, hey, here's a great idea. We're going to get all these international drivers who have never driven supercars before into supercars on a street circuit. And of course, as expected, they all shunted. The biggest, I don't think I've ever seen.
So they should bring it back.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I was
Absolutely.
like, you know, bring it back. But I don't think there's ever been a weekend in supercars that's been that expensive. And not only did they do it once, they did it 2 years in a row, and the exact same result happened the second time.
So if you're someone like a team owner like 888 or anything like that, it's an expensive.
But the names were crazy. Like Mika Salo was racing in it. James Hinchcliffe was racing in it. We had like Scott Speed, I think, potentially. No, ex-Formula 1 drivers were in it. It was crazy. Awesome though. Awesome. Take me back.
Well, Supercars is only a couple of weeks away. Pukekohe Motorsport Park. If you are a supercar fan, there's lots of our amazing support categories racing as well. Some of those what, Simon?
Well, I wouldn't say the most amazing ones, but we've got the Australian Formula 4, the New Zealand Formula 4 Championship. Kuipers go for a spin. We've got the Trans Am Challenge coming across as well. So a few other classes. Sanyong Racing Utes, they're coming to play.
Any of the V8s?
No, so the weird thing that's happened this year, so basically with the Rugby World Cup, supercars were like, oh my god, we can't have the Pukekohe being clashing with the World Cup because we know what people are going to watch.
The Kiwis will watch the World Cup.
They're going to watch the World Cup. So they were like, let's bring it forward just a couple of months, we'll put it in front of...
Well, they're not all going to be watching it because it's not on Sky, it's on Spark.
Yeah, exactly. What? Anyway, they're going to be watching potentially the Supercars or the Rugby World Cup, so they're like, let's bring it forward. But unfortunately what that meant is it basically closed up the window in which a lot of the national championships could find their sponsorship and sort out a lot of things. So basically they're like, you know what, we know that Supercars is going to be moving the date for the next year's event to April, so we won't come and compete at this one. So this one's a bit of, I wouldn't say right on the set for the support process, it's just a different setup.
All right, Monkey Matt does manage to close the gap. There's still 24 seconds, ladies and gentlemen, on the left-hand side of your screen. Third position, 8 seconds behind the leader is Matthew Bullpluck and Robert Northway, the flying Kiwi, 127.89. Not huge variations, but still a big margin in between them right now. We go further down the field. We're actually riding on board with Scythe Crimson, who's sitting behind Fane, and he just actually got past. I'm not sure if that was lap traffic or not, but
that was Northway P1. I was about to mention actually he was. It's really the traffic now. That's the main thing that Northway's got to worry about is the amount of passing opportunities here. Opportunities to get past someone really quickly. You've got to try to catch that traffic
at the right time.
Absolutely. Yep. So coming out of pothole into the hairpin, potentially coming into the final corner, potentially turn 1. There's really only a handful of places where it's ideal. If you catch up to traffic like he has right now through this infield section, you've got to rely on them to actually give you a bit of racing room and let you pass, which is exactly what happens there. So, but they will not all be doing that unanimously, guaranteed.
And you're not seeing him actually flash his lights, so he's still been quite a gentleman racer at this stage, but he does obviously also know that he's 9 seconds ahead of Matthew Bullpluck at the moment. Pluck currently leading the championship, but he did pick up some exceptional points, first in the qualifying in race 1 and first in the actual race, so he's got 100 points to his name. Who will come and battle at the live LPL studios for the final? We're about to find out in a couple of rounds.
That's the other thing about Northway actually, is that he's spent so much this year, this season, fighting for position and having to recover. I think he's probably also quite used to weaving through traffic and sort of the unique challenge of that, whereas Pluck, who's spent most of the year just cruising at the front, to be fair, putting on clinics and kissing babies and winning races, as we see one of the lap cars taking to the grass to get out of the way. Absolutely gentlemanly behaviour. Great to see, actually. He's probably having a harder time. So you mentioned that the gap between them was actually growing a wee bit lap on lap. It was 8 not so long ago. So that's potentially what we're seeing.
Pluck's probably obviously seen that lap traffic now as well. Yeah. Northway's actually now got clean air. So all Northway's got to do, 200 points up for grabs, and they're very crucial points if he wants to win this championship. Great thing I see, no offence to Kyle Madden or Damien Main, but there's no Australians in the championship title fight right now for the ANZ Championship. Daniel Shields came over last year and he was the doctor of the house. He just decimated all, and he went on, now he's driving for Mercedes, Formula 1 Esports team, something like that. Absolutely amazing, paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yes, kids, you heard it right. Stick to it if you want to. You could potentially be like Daniel Shields and go international. 2 drivers that are actually international in these races right now, New Zealand Simon Bishop and Monkey Matt. They already fly around the world driving for in the GT, is it the GT Academy, Simon?
GT Sport.
GT Sport.
All of this just makes me want to play more video games. Should have kept up with it, eh?
This is where I get that banter of going, but go to the track, get involved.
Get amongst it.
Get amongst it, be a marshal, wave a flag in the pissing down rain out on the track like these guys are.
Do that on your weekends, do this on your weekends.
There you go.
Balanced life.
And it is balanced. Like a lot of our drivers, Darren Kelly came in here and the other drivers came in, in the muscle memory, knowing where the breakers are, knowing what the car's going to do. It does help. This helps a lot in real life racing.
We've mentioned Simon Bishop and Monkey Matt a couple of times tonight on New York, and yes, they just came back from that event. Neither of them, unfortunately, sort of threatened the top positions. Simon was probably a bit closer, racing for Toyota in the Manufacturers Cup, but high drama on the Sunday of that one. You had a driver get a penalty for brake checking someone halfway up Eau Rouge at Spa. Crazy stuff. Brake checking, a couple laps to go, penalties. Meanwhile, here we are racing in New Zealand, door to door, paint versus paint, lots of cars, lots of incident, and people just being allowed to kick on. It's really good to see.
No brake checking here, that's for sure. Real high quality racing here in the LPL Podcast 2 ANZ Championship. Currently it is Robert Northway who leads on lap 21. A mammoth margin there of 10 seconds over Matthew Bullpluck. Unfortunately, after that pass, Pluck has just been unable to catch Northway in this race, but all things going well. And I don't want to put the mockers on him, but Northway should come home and grab 200 points.
That's big for him, and it comes at a really good time because he's had a few sort of events where he hasn't been able to really convert and get that big result. But obviously the fat lady hasn't sung. We're still racing here at Ruapuna. And traffic could still be a huge factor.
Whoa, Matthew Pluck getting all out of shape there, trying to pass one of the lap cars. That was pretty wild there with only a lap or two left to go. That could have been all over in a moment. Certainly getting darker here at Mike Pero Motorsport Park. Pluck just sitting behind one of the lap cars that just got really loose out of pothole. Bizarre little incident there. Lucky to come away without any damage. Still sits down in P2.
So that's the awkward one. We talk about traffic, but you know, and even if the car in front is slow and they're wobbling around the place, the onus is on the chasing car to be able to make a clean pass. We've seen it in multi-class racing. Brendan Hartley will be a very familiar person with that rule after a couple of quite high-key ones over at the World Endurance Championship. I think I saw a couple of a pair of headlights pointing from the tyre wall just then. But traffic, and we haven't really seen it so much in these longer races, but the weather's really made it a factor today.
All right, Robert Northway, lap 23. He is on his final lap, ladies and gentlemen. The Christchurch local, he gets bragging rights. He's just got to not make any uncharacteristic mistakes, and he will take away the win. Oh, you are joking!
You've just put the mockers on him, Brendan. I can't believe it.
Count it down, count it down. Now, where is he? Where's Pluck? Is he even close?
Oh my God, the margin's coming down. 6 seconds.
Is that him?
5. I think that might be. Northway, has he thrown it all away on the last lap? Matthew Pluck is only within 4 seconds of him.
Oh,
that was nuts. Literally within milliseconds of you saying it.
There he is in the background.
Northway goes for a big old spin. You said uncharacteristic mistakes. I was going
to say characteristic mistakes. I just didn't want to jinx him, and then he goes and does it himself.
Sure did. That was crazy from him. Interesting though, Pluck only did a 1:30 that last time by, where Northway did a 1:28 there. So unfortunately, that traffic is not playing into Pluck's hands. If anything, it's helping Northway, a really big margin there. Coming into the last lap there, Northway will be sweating bullets after that moment.
Can you believe it? Lap 1 of tonight and the final lap of tonight, both spins at pothole.
Crazy, nuts. Here we go, around the final corner. Northway, just bring it home, buddy. Just get down the straight, no more mistakes, don't hit any puddles. He's going to do it. He's going to come home and he's going to take 2 wins tonight here. The King of Christchurch, Robert Northway, gets a valuable haul of points. Matthew Bull Pluck will come home second, just 4 seconds behind. In a very distant third, we wait to see Monkey Matt. Can he hold off Kyle Madden? He's on the defensive going into the final corner. Will Madden send it down the inside? Surely not. Just get home and get those points. Wait and see now. Can he get on the throttle a little bit earlier? Madden trying to get alongside Monkey Matt. Can't quite do it though, and it looks like Monkey Matt will come home third. There it is. Great result there for another Christchurch local. I believe that might be Christchurch 1-2-3. Kyle Madden, good job for him to pick up P4. Seeker we're watching now. Just has Prenz behind him through the final corner. Good job for Prenz. Come home P6, but he's got a penalty next to his name, so even if he did manage to get past Seeker at the end there, he probably would have fallen back to P6. Spins it on the line. Good night, Nurse. Big old 360 and away he goes. Crimson will come home in P3, a very distant P3 at that. About a minute behind the leader, some damage to the front of his car, unfortunately costing him a chance for top 6. So here it is, your order for tonight. The final race here at Mike Pero Motorsport Park. Robert Murphy's Law Northway brings home the win there, 23 laps of the circuit, 5.8 seconds ahead, but it was a margin a lot larger than that before that spin. Matthew Pluck comes home second, maybe just ruining the fact he didn't push too hard at the end there. Monkey Matt comes home P3, Kyle Madden in P4, and Seeker rounds out the top 5.
Prenz coming in 6th position. He had a pretty good race and a good second race as well. Safe Crimson in 7th. EVP won't be so happy with that, but still a solid result in 8th position. Fade in 9th. Info Agent taking 10th position. Dave Elke Roberts in 11th, and Alistair Dave Stone Kuipers in 12th position. So it was an all Christchurch local round, first, second and third on the podium, ladies and gentlemen. They're sank in the water, as I've said, all season down there, and the local boys will be stoked. Stay tuned, we're going to find out the full championship results right after the break. Get yourself a drink and we'll see you soon.
Like us, you're passionate about cars. At Star Insurance Specialist, we create custom policies for Kiwis with exceptional vehicles. If you own a vintage, classic, performance, project or prestige car, your needs don't fit neatly into a box. We think special and unique cars deserve special and unique insurance. We don't let robots determine policy or price. Get on the road with a custom policy from Star Insurance Specialists. Go to starinsure.co.nz today.
War is upon us.
They might have found another kill. Carly out of position.
And there will be no dialogue.
He's just beyond godlike. The words speak for themselves.
Show no mercy.
It's gonna be a wash as everyone was either dead or retreating.
And be relentless. Enlist for war.
Need a ride? Thanks to Ola and Let's Play Live, we are hooking you up. Simply apply the code on screen to get your first ride free. T's and C's apply.
Test your limit. Drive with the fastest.
Through into the inside. Has he got it, McQueen? Will he block?
Take control.
And he gets it. Job done. Can he hold on to it?
Redefine speed.
It's a drag race to the finish.
Who's it going to be?
Fantastic racing. Look, he is pumped. He is absolutely stoked.
Be the fastest.
G'day, I'm Sam, and here at driven.co.nz, we've got a nifty toolbox to help make buying and selling a car easier. Selling, but not sure what price to put on it? Our car value calculator will give you a really good starting point. If you're buying a new car, our cost to run tool will give you a rough estimate of what the car will cost you each year to run. We can also tell you the best time to sell so you get the sweetest possible return. Check out the toolbox at driven.co.nz.
Need a ride? Thanks to Ola and Let's Play Live, we are hooking you up. Simply apply the code on screen to get your first ride free. T's and C's apply.
This is just clinical.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Let's Play Live Star Insurance Specialist. It's a bit of a Ola special, that's right, first ride's on us. Just LPL AU if you're in Australia or internationally, or LPL NZ on the Google Play Store or the App Store. Simple as that. Big thanks to our partners, Ola. That's right, we are the Project Cars Star Insurance. It's season 5, and this is where we sit right now. This was the round tournament, so tonight's results was, I'm back on air. Here we go, we'll try again on that one, ladies and gentlemen. So it was the round results, race 3, 382 points. Murphy's Law, so that is obviously Matthew Bullpluck sitting out in the front. Murphy's Law followed by Kyle Madden, the Australian. Monkey Madden DNF in the last one, 286 points. So it's valuable points up the top, Simon.
Yeah, I'm not sure that these points are quite right because Murphy's Law got the win in that last race there, so he's unfortunately, I think, misscored there. So Pluck is in P1, but I think we might see a bit of a reversal there in the points by the end of this. So we'll see what happens with the full standings for the championship. Here it is, Matthew Bullpluck. That margin now just down to 92 points. So it is a little bit of a break there for Murphy's Law. He's gotten it under that 3 digits, and Seeker now up into P3 ahead of Kyle Madden in P4. Prenz up into P5, Monkey Matt, Simon Bishop and EVP rounding out your top 8.
Well, you've been with us, ladies and gentlemen. It was an interesting race. It was New Zealand, Maipera Motorsport Park. The movers and shakers are obviously Robert Northway, Kyle Madden and Matthew Bullpluck. We will be the same place, the same time next week. My name is Brendan White, joined by Simon Chapman and Matthew from Driven. Remember to get onto driven.co.nz to win yourself, thanks to Hampton Downs, a Lamborghini Drive Huracan. We will be back next week. Thanks. Stay safe on the roads. Daffodil Day tomorrow. Make sure you do that. Bye for now.
This LPL Pro presentation was proudly brought to you by Star Insurance.